Right now, we bring to you Dallas Stars TV host and analyst, Emmy Award winner. It is Brien Rea. Brien, how are you dealing with the news that the Cowboys might no longer say, yeah, here we go, before they snap the ball?
So the beautiful thing is I have no idea what you're talking about.
What?
I have a morning skate for a Game 5 to see if the Dallas Stars can survive this and somehow flip it around. I have been in the ultimate black hole tunnel vision of playoff hockey right
Okay.
now. What
I love
missed.
it.
All right.
I love it. Don't worry about what you missed.
Don't worry about it.
We'll
Fine.
text you later.
I have a hockey question for you. Hey, can the Stars play competent 5-on-5 hockey to keep this thing going? Because what is the deal, man?
Can they? Yes. And as brutal as the last game was, the 2 goals that Edmonton scored were power play goals. Yes, they added empty netters. Yeah. So Dallas has been building their 5-on-5 game as this series has gone along. Here's the problem. We have now reached DEFCON 1, and it is no more building games. It is no more building elements to your game. It is you need goals, you need wins, and you need answers. And that is the big question we're going to see tonight is this team has now been pushed to a place it has really not been pushed to yet, really since the Colorado series, to get this to 7 games. So they have now been pushed to that place against the hardest dragon that they have had to slay so far.
Yep.
And we're going to learn if this team is up to the challenge. And having said all that, we do have to give some credit to the Edmonton Oilers. It's not like this is, a middling team that came in here. It's a pretty darn good hockey team on the other side. And this is what happens when you get to the Final Four, that you are the 4 elite teams of this season in the NHL, and it really can come down to a 1% difference that will separate who moves on versus who doesn't. And right now, Edmonton has had that 1%. Sometimes it's felt like 2%, but they've had that extra 1% so far.
I saw the line that DeBoer said that the being down 2-0 to Vegas was more daunting than this. Can you elaborate a little more on that? What do you think he's thinking there?
Yeah, I don't know if I can elaborate because I'm not in his head.
Yeah.
When I heard that line, first of all, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to tell Edmonton that.
This isn't so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 2025. I don't know if we're still in the old locker room bulletin board material of sports as we used to be, a decade ago or 2 decades ago. But I was like, I don't know if I want to mention that. Mm-hmm. But look, to be down 2-0, having lost both games at home against the defending Stanley Cup champions and having to go on the road to try and find an answer, that's what Dallas walked into last year. This year, you're down 3-1 to the team that came within 1 game of winning the Stanley Cup last year, but you at least get 2 of the final 3 games on home ice. So I can understand from a looking at it side-by-side component, those are 2 difficult scenarios. But the bottom line is this. It's not about what was going on last year against Vegas. It's not about what's gone on in this series so far. It really is, and it's so cliche, but cliches are born from reality. You have to win 1 period right now.
Yeah.
And it's the first period.
Yeah.
After you win that, you have to win the next period. And then once you're through that, you have to win the period after that. And then at the end of the night, if you've done that, you will have won the game. And now you start thinking about, okay, what do we do when we go into Edmonton for Game 6?
How frustrating is it then when by every other metric you have won the period, but you're trailing on the scoreboard? Because that's what the first period was in that last game.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how hockey players, especially ones that are paid to score goals, I don't know how they deal with that. And then we get to ask them about it the next day and the next day and the next day. And I was just doing a thing with Sevi. And look, this is going to be a thing until it's not a thing. And if Dallas could get the first goal tonight, and if they could get the first goal from somebody not named Mikko Rantanen or Rope Hintz or Mikhail Granlund, that top line, then it's no longer a thing. But until that puck goes in from somebody down that lineup, this will continue to be a thing. And it sounds strange to say, how do you will a puck across the goal line? And even Peter DeBoer, I really liked his line today. He was asked about this exact thing, about the lack of depth scoring and having these conversations with your players. And he said, listen, you cannot coach the puck across the goal line. You know, you can do everything else as a player to prepare yourself. You can do everything else as a coach to try and put a game plan in place, put people in places to succeed, etc. But you can't coach the puck across the goal line. I really do think if Dallas can just get one to go, the weight comes off the shoulders. They start to feel a little bit less pressure. That's just one less thing to worry about. They're back to feeling normal like themselves again. And talking with Matt Duchesne at Morning Skate today, he said, look, we're on a cold streak right now. But what usually comes after a cold streak? A hot streak. The challenge for them is they have to find a way to get this thing over with. And you don't want to change who you are as a player. You don't want to throw your entire mantra out the window because that's what's gotten you to this point. You know, you just have to stay within yourself and within your process, and you have to mentally believe that it's coming. When you have a first period like the Dallas Stars did, you should believe that something is coming. You really should, because as you said, they dominated every single metric except the most important one.
Yep.
And you have to hope. This is the fun part about being a fan. We got to hope. Don't panic. Don't freak out. We got to keep our composure, like Will Ferrell said in Old School. And we just got to hope it's coming tonight.
Yeah, Kevin, I kind of compare that a little bit with the Rangers. Get a couple runs early, and you start feeling a little more comfortable. You know, and I know Brian doesn't know who the Rangers are right now because he's so focused.
I grew up on baseball. Come on, I grew up on baseball.
Okay, all right. I was just going with what you told me earlier.
No. Now, having said that, now since you brought it that way, yes, get a couple of runs early, or a Corey Seager bomb right in the leadoff at bat would be nice here at American Airlines Center. Let's get the building just lit up 5 minutes into this hockey game.
Now, I would have thought, hey, yesterday the Rangers got a hit to start the game, and then that was the only hit they got.
Okay.
Look, now, Kevin, all right, we're talking about hockey. All right,
talking hockey right now.
So I would have thought hockey logic would have dictated that after Hyman went out, the physicality would shift, or perhaps maybe even be even. But that didn't seem to happen whatsoever in the last game, and now you've got Jeff Skinner coming in. I'm curious what you thought about the physicality post-Hyman and then what Jeff Skinner can do.
What Jeff Skinner can do, I'm not totally sure. He's kind of had an up-and-down season, and he's not really been a main player in these playoffs. You would think this could play into the Stars' hands a little bit because Jeff Skinner's essentially entering this series, or these playoffs after a long layoff, and it's a different pace of play, in a situation like this. Like there could be a rust factor, and you hope that could benefit the Dallas Stars. In terms of the physicality, it's not like a thundering body check type of physicality, but when I think about the Stars needing to play a little bit of a heavier game, to use some hockey lingo for you, I go back to the middle of the ice. And so when you're watching this game tonight, look at how many white Edmonton Oilers jerseys are between the two face-off dots down low in front of the goal crease. Because for the last handful of games, yes, it has looked like a wall, a force field. And so from a physicality standpoint, I think we are at the point where Dallas, yes, you're going to have to send one guy, but you're going to have to send a second, possibly a third, to just bulldoze your way through that wall and find a puck to score a goal. And I was doing a nerdy analytics dive yesterday. So Stuart Skinner, the Edmonton goaltender, the average distance of the goals he has given up in the playoffs is between 14 and 15 feet. It's the second lowest of any regular goaltender in the playoffs this year. LA's Darcy Kemper is the only one ahead of him. 15 feet from the goal is that exact area that I'm talking about, and that exact area that Edmonton has been trying to take away from the Dallas Stars, between the two face-off dots and right towards the blue paint. If that's the average distance of where he's given up his goals, that tells me that's where you're going to have to score from. So what can you do to get to that area and win a battle to get a shot on Stuart Skinner? And that's the biggest thing that I'm watching in this game tonight.
Can I put out hope that Jason Robertson is one of the people that can help you get that done? I know you said anybody, hopefully outside of the first line. He's had goals in 2 straight games, though I know the one a couple games ago was not really necessarily his goal. But is there hope that he can continue what looked like some momentum in the last game?
Yes, there is hope. And you know what? I'm glad you brought up the goal that he scored, but it technically wasn't his, or it didn't seem like it. Let's look at that goal a little bit. If you go back and watch the highlight, there was a shot taken from the perimeter, and Skinner gave up a juicy rebound. And Jason Robertson was actually being boxed out by an Edmonton player, and he fought through the box out and almost kind of tomahawk chopped at the puck. It didn't go on net. It fluttered over the net, but because he was able to get to that puck physically fighting through a box out, Edmonton's defense now is turned around looking behind the net. They fall out of sorts, and the Stars gain possession. They feed the puck out to Bischel. He gets the shot off. And Jason Robertson got the goal because he tipped it. Where was he standing when he tipped it? Right in front of the blue paint in that little zone where Stuart Skinner has given up goals. So, yes, there is hope because Jason Robertson on that goal, not once, but twice, got to that 15-foot area that Dallas has had a hard time penetrating, and it finally gave the Oilers problems. Yes, there's hope, but that goal that he scored 2 games ago, I look at that and I'm like, that's your formula. That is how you need to find a way to score goals the way this series has gone. If you can get 1 or 2 and get a lead, now Edmonton's going to start to open things up a little bit, and maybe you get some space to score more of those pretty goals, off-the-rush goals, tic-tac-toe passing plays that we're used to seeing from this team. But that's the type of goal you need to go get first for me.
Is there an angle you can take away from Draisaitl? Because it seems like every angle out there is one that he can score from. And it just seems like he kind of bullies his way near the net a lot of times.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, if you look at him, he physically looks like Rantanen a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think he's quite as big, but he kind of has a similar build, and you see what Mikko Rantanen can do. Can you take an angle? I don't know. The guy scored 52 goals. It's kind of it was such a strange goal to see because when I first saw it, I'm like, man, could Ottinger have gotten that?
Right.
What did they do wrong? But also sometimes the guy's the leading goal scorer in the NHL. Sometimes the guy is just better than you at something. Unfortunately, it stinks when you're the one on the other side of it. But yeah, I'd say that the angle on that, don't take the penalty. That's how you take away the angle.
There you go.
Don't put him on the power play.
After the morning skate today, did you get a chance to remind everybody that for the Stars that they can still take shots in the third period?
Oh, and you got to give. Edmonton also is doing such a good job at keeping them from it.
They're winning the series 3-1. Screw Edmonton. That's fine. You're right. Sometimes they're just better. But 7 shots on goal in the last 2 third periods. I can't. That doesn't make sense to me, no matter how well Edmonton is playing.
And Brian, I think that also somebody just texted this in. Ask him about the Stars' passing efficiency. It seems like it's bad, and I guess that goes to that, Kevin. It feels like the puck hasn't stuck to their sticks the way that it is for Edmonton, Brian. That's kind of what I'm feeling is the puck's being passed around. That's how they're not getting those shots off because they're pressing a little. It feels like they're pressing a little bit in the third period.
Pressing. That's the word I was going to use is pressing. Look, this is the frustration of playing a really, really good team or a team that's giving you problems on the other side of a playoff series. Whether it's passing efficiency, whether it's the amount of times they miss the net despite being so strong in that first period, everything like that. When you have a goaltender who's not letting anything in, when you have a defense that is not giving you any space in the offensive zone to make a play, it starts to creep in a little bit. Do we have to make a more perfect play to try and get something through? Do we have to make one extra pass? Sevy's term is overpassitis, which I love.
I see it. Yeah.
Yes, but how many times in anything, in any kind of hobby, in any kind of sport, when something is getting frustrating, or no matter what you're doing, it's not working, you start to it's human nature to try and alter or change or adjust or fine-tune something a little bit further, and it goes against you even more. That is what I thought Edmonton did to the Stars in these last two games, and credit Edmonton. This is a team that already knows how to get to a Stanley Cup final, and they've been on a mission themselves. They've been on the same mission as the Stars.
Yeah.
It's the unmovable object, the unstoppable force, colliding. You have home ice, you have matchup dictation, you have one game to save your season right now. That is the only thing that matters. Whatever occurred in the last two third periods, whatever occurred in Edmonton, whatever problems you've had, on the road, worry about that when that scenario presents itself. But right now, you only have one scenario, and that's win the first period.
We're not going home.
And yes, and now you're at your most desperate time. So we'll worry about the third period shots when we get to the third period.
Yeah.
It's so cliche, but it's how you have to think about this game. And no, I did not remind them, because I'm the last person that needs to tell any of these people how to play hockey at an NHL playoff level.
All right. Just saying, sounds like you could have helped. I'm just kidding, Brian.
I'll tell you what. I'll give Pete a quick call after
There you
this,
go.
and I'll just let him know. Hey, Pete, just a quick reminder. I thought you should hear it from me.
The fellas on K&C suggested this.
Hey,
So
you know what?
I'm
You
sure
do
he
that.
won't hang up on me.
Do that and tell him one more thing. He doesn't even have to have a whole interview tomorrow. I'll give him the phone number to call in if they win and be like, hey, dumbass, I heard your snarky little comment yesterday and looks like we figured it out. Tell him I will give him free reign for that.
Oh, I will give him your phone number. Tell him to do that.
Thank you very much, good sir. Good sir. Go Stars.
Believe. We got to believe,
yes,
guys.
sir.
Believe.
There you go. Brien
Thanks,
Rea.